Hello, Oracles. Oracle, Tim here from Oracle Investments. Today I wanted to go over my bear, base, and bull case scenarios for Tesla stock in 2022. One of the things that I do is, obviously nobody knows what's going to happen with the stock. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the macro environment or the entire market. So I try to plan for the worst. So I always look at my bear case scenario first. And I'll say, all right, if this happens, am I prepared for it? And then from there, I can always hope for the best. So I want to know what everything else is going on. So this way I'll be ready to be able to attack whatever happens with my plan. And as a lot of you on here have been commenting about, the panic and that natural human emotion reaction to the stock going red as much as it is, when you hear the other side of the thing and you hear these other investors like, yeah, go red, they're not wishing that it goes red because they want it to crash. They're wishing it goes red because they have planned for these moments that the stock comes down, because they know that when the stock goes red, they can invest more money into it and they're going to get a much better return on investment on that money. And so, of course, a worst case scenario is going to be where the dip just keeps on dipping. Well, how do you prepare for that? Well, the way I prepare for it is to have multiple streams of income. So for me, I've got a full-time job. I'm a Beachbody coach. I have this YouTube channel here, and I'm also on Patreon. So thank you all to you guys as subscribers and patrons. And I'm also working on getting my real estate agent license, and I'm going to be investing in some real estate. So having all these multiple different sources of income allows me to take an opportunity where the dip keeps on dipping, and I can keep on putting money into it. Because again, even if it keeps on dipping, nobody knows when we're going to hit the bottom. Even if we hit a recession, nobody knows where that bottom is going to be. So I like to just have that opportunity to have outside sources of income coming in. Because if all of your money is invested in the stock market and the stock market keeps coming down, and you have no other money to put into the stock market, then you're looking at either having to hold on for dear life and just ride out that pain, or you end up selling out and then you lose a lot of money. I'd rather not put myself in that situation. So I will have, over on Patreon, I do have videos going deeper into opportunities to get yourself multiple sources of income, best ways to do those things. So if you want to see those videos, I've got them on Patreon. Otherwise, I'm going to get into the bear, base, and bull case scenarios for 2022 for Tesla stock. So my base case for Tesla stock for this year in 2022 is going to be kind of similar to how it ran in 2021. We're going to have a little bit of a run-up going into the Q4 earnings and the roadmap, and we'll see a bit of a run-up into that. And then after that, once the news all settles and we see what's going on, the stock price is going to settle down. It's going to settle down around that $1,100 mark. And it'll kind of trade flat for the next 6 months, right through about August. We're going to end up seeing inflation rates, leveling off and coming down. The interest rates going up are going to keep everything in balance. Supply chain issues are going to start getting alleviated by the end of the year, keeping everything in a normal balance as we foresee it right now. Going into Q3, around September and October, we're going to see some more red in the stock, with the election coming up in November. So the normal pre-election turmoil will be there. Stock price will come down a little bit, but we are going to have a very nice Q3 earnings, which we are expecting, and we're going to have a lot of great news at that point. The stock price won't reflect it because of the macro environment, but as soon as the election is over, we will see a boom coming out of the stock. Because once the election uncertainty is over, people will start piling their money into Tesla and other high conviction stocks that they've got. With this, the stock price will begin to run up quite rapidly in November, and then there will be a stock split announcement in November. This will cause the stock price to escalate up to about $2,000 by the end of 2022. Getting into the Q4 earnings, post-split, we will see a little bit of a pullback on the price just because normal post-split price action and the run-up into the split itself was going to stretch the valuation a little bit. But by the end of 2022, I see the stock price being around $2,000. And so to go over the quarterly price targets, end of Q1 I think will be around $1,100. End of Q2 around $1,150 because we'll be trading in that flat zone for a little while. End of Q3 will be at $1,200 because we're still going to be in that pre-election FUD time frame, but it'll still be creeping up a little bit and people are going to want to get ahead of the curve before the election is over. And then again, end of the year is going to be $2,000. And then going into Q4 earnings, I'm not sure if we'll dip down then or if we'll dip down after the Q4 earnings, but that's a long ways away and we can discuss that later. And so now into my bear case scenario. This is everything goes wrong. This is what I am preparing for. Now, regardless of what happens, whether it's base, bear, or bull case scenarios, I still see Tesla stock doing extremely well in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So I want to invest as much money as I can into it wisely, which is why having an outside source of income to be able to invest in the stock while it dips into the deep red, if we hit a bear case scenario, is ideal because then you'll get a higher return on your investment. Very similar to how great planned investors were back during the housing market crash. Housing market crashed, people who were prepared for it and had money on the sidelines to invest, invested in high growth stocks during that recession and made out like bandits afterwards. That is what I want to prepare for just in case. So the bear case is recession hits. Inflation continues to go up. We need to raise interest rates faster than we even plan right now. Supply chain issues do not alleviate and actually get worse. COVID fears make things even worse as it already is. And we have high growth stocks getting punished even harder. We've got the government out to get Elon Musk and Tesla because God forbid somebody tries to save the world in a humanly nice way without corruption. We've got Cybertruck delays. We have $25,000 car delays. We've got factory ramps that are getting delayed. We have just production slowing down so much where competition actually has a chance to catch up to Tesla because Tesla just can't stay ahead. And then we have, because of that, customers begin switching over from Tesla because their lead times are so long to competition because they don't have the demand so they can produce cars that people can actually buy sooner. And so with all of this horrible worst case scenario, recession, terrible things happening, here are my price targets for the quarters. Quarter one, we're at $950 because things haven't really taken into effect yet, but we see it coming. Q2, we're down to $750. Q3, we're down to $600. We're, in this recession that is starting. We've got election time coming up, and because we're in the recession, we've got the election FUD is even worse than it ever is, so we're in the deep red at that point at $600. But by the end of the year, elections are over, we're starting to get more clarity on what's going on, and the stock rebounds to about $700. And now again, just to reiterate, this, as a bear case scenario, is what I plan for. And even with that, I still see Tesla coming out of this strong because they still have the greatest foundation out of all the EV makers out there. They still have the best company by far out of everyone out there. And they do so much more than just EVs. So they'll take the hit, but they're still going to come out the strongest because don't forget, a recession's not going to hit just Tesla. It's going to hit everyone. So in a recession, the strongest will survive, and that will be Tesla. So being able to buy even more of the stock during a recession will allow you to have a much greater ROI because when the market does start to recover, the cream rises to the top. Tesla's the cream, so that's going to come up sooner than all of the other stocks, and you'll be able to have that advantage of being in it before it starts to come back up. And now on to our bull case. For any of you who have not seen Cathie Wood's plan that she put down on Friday, I happen to be going over it today, and it played into a bit of what my bull case scenario is. So it was nice to get her input on it to see where I was at and say, you know what, we kind of are on the same page in some manners. And so what happens in the bull scenario is supply chain issues alleviate a lot sooner than we think. They're going to alleviate early spring, Inflation is actually transitory. It is actually going to be coming down sooner than expected, which means that the Fed will then reverse and say, you know what? We don't need to raise interest rates as soon, so interest rate increases get pushed off until 2023. And the alleviation of supply chain bottlenecks allows Tesla to ramp up their factories even faster than everybody expects, and all projections and forecasts for production will continue to get increased as the year goes on, similar to how it was here in 2021. And Tesla sees their credit rating go up to a AAA status. Thank you, Gareth, for reminding me of that one. That means that a lot of larger institutional investors who strictly go based off of credit rating will begin to invest in Tesla as well. And because supply chain issues are alleviating, the Cybertruck can actually start production sooner, and we'll get production starting in June and then ramp production starting in August. The 4680 battery will also be in ramp at this time, which means that we will have Model Ys having the 4680s. The semi-truck can actually start coming out in more production sooner as well. And all of the battery storage will be able to ramp up faster because they have the batteries and supplies that they need. And because of this, Tesla is able to extend their lead on competition because they're going to be able to produce these cars, cut the lead times down for everyone, so more people will be able to get in and get their Teslas sooner, and competition will not be able to keep up, and they're just going to get smoked so much faster. And so my price targets in the bull case scenario are end of Q1, we're going to be at $1,500. End of Q2 will be at $1,750, and then Elon will announce a split at that point, which will then run the stock up to $2,000 by the end of Q3. The election will cause minimal effect on the stock because the FUD will be there, but I think that the excitement, because of all of the split news and everything going on with Tesla, it will be mostly unfazed. After the elections, it will roar up again to $2,500 by the end of 2022. Now, as I always say, I am not a financial advisor, I am not psychic, I do not know truly what is going to happen, which is why for me, I just play out 3 different scenarios. I always prepare for the worst, but I hope for the best. Am I preparing for the worst? As I said, is a recession coming, so how do I prepare for a recession? And that is to have multiple sources of income coming in. And by doing so, not that the stock is going to die during a recession, it just takes a lot of more pain. And what ends up happening is when you're prepared for something like that, you don't have to worry about your emotions. And actually, you can get excited because of that, because you are prepared for it. And I know I've had a lot of discussions with many of you about currently where the stock is at and how it's been coming down, and a little bit of that panic setting in. Totally natural and totally normal to have that. And I used to be like that myself. Honestly, a year, 2 years ago, if you knew me and how I dealt with stocks, the amount of times I sold during the red because I didn't want to lose anymore, and then I lost out because guess what? The stocks turned around, they went green, but I sold out when it was red and I lost money. I was a very emotional investor, so I worked really hard to figure out how to not be an emotional investor, and I found out the best way to do it is to plan. And by planning, I have 5 to 10% of my portfolio in cash, and then I have enough cash flow coming in from outside sources to be able to take advantage of any situations that arise when the stocks go red. And again, I go much further and deeper into that and how to plan ahead for moments of red in the stock market over on Patreon if you want to join me over there. But that to me is the best way to get through this, take your emotions out of it, and really be able to take advantage of what is going to happen. Regardless of what happens in any one of these 3 scenarios or a combination of them, I still see Tesla doing extremely well long term. I see their stock price going up exponentially between now and 2032, and if the price comes down, buying in at those prices will just allow you to grow your money even faster and greater than before. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as to what scenario you think is going to play out in 2022. Do you think we're going to hit my base case, or do you think we're going to hit a recession and everything's going to pull back for a couple of years and it's going to get ugly? Or do you think that Cathie Wood is right and we're going to hit this bull run and just go crazy and exponentially explode over the next 5 years? Let me know. Thank you all so much for your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I will see you guys all later. Have a great one.